Football fans, Gooners, welcome to a special postseason edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. I am your host, Shotta, and today I have the great pleasure of having a very great friend of the podcast, the one and only Millsy, who can trace his heritage to the Dial Square, the predecessor of Arsenal FC. Millsy, welcome, my friend.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
We're finally getting this together with my friend Blackburn George of the Positively Arsenal blog, the man who has stuck with me through thick and thin, through technical errors, through power disruptions. We've been trying to do this for 2 weeks, George, and I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah,
Everybody on the podcast is having a laugh because they know we had some issues getting this going. But guys out there,
I want everybody to know that I'm in a bad mood because you fucked this up twice. I'm having to repeat this. I'm having to repeat the same bollocks that I've spouted for the third time. It's bad enough you having to listen to me, but me having to listen to me is even worse.
Guys, you see what I've had to put up with this season? But we're going to give you a show, a real good show, and thanks to George and Mills. George, let's get into it. The 21-22 season is the trail lights, as they say in America, is way back over in the horizon, hardly can see. So it's a good time to really give a balanced opinion. Everybody had shot their bolt, giving their immediate post-game assessment after that last game of the season. So, George, what was your overall impression? We ended up with 60-plus points, fifth, an improvement over eighth. What was your overall impression of how this season went?
My overall impression was the end result was satisfactory. How we got there was unsatisfactory, and the way we threw fourth place away twice, not just once, but twice, was very unsatisfactory. However, I said that I could never see the direction Arteta's team was taking. This season, I can see it. I don't like it, but I can see it. So that's an improvement. At least I can see a plan. And no plan at all is a very bad plan. So I can see a plan. That's better than nothing. So there was good, little bits of good. There was a lot of bad. But overall, you have to say, fifth place, back in Europe. Okay. Very unenjoyable season, though. Didn't get much pleasure from watching the team at all.
Is that a similar opinion by you, Millsy? Were just as
I think George summed it. Yeah, no, I'm not satisfied at all. I think we were thwarted. I think oh dear, there's all sorts of terrible problems that are going on, sort of lack of unity at the back, and then, sort of endless adjustments in midfield and seeing how players are going, and then the same with the attackers as well. And like I said a couple of times already now, it was much more enjoyable to watch Celtic this year, who they made some good transfers, and they were exciting to watch.
Your family will hang you. Your predecessors.
No, it's only my brother supports the Arsenal now anyway. Everybody else is gone, or they support other teams. So, and he won't. So, but no. I mean, obviously I watch the Arsenal as well. But when you're watching, Celtic were everything that I wish that we could have been this season. They were exciting going forward. They had sort of coherency in the team, and he made some good transfers in the summer and in January, and he transformed them. And they won the league. Okay, they didn't do so well in Europe, but we're not here to talk about Celtic. But I agree with George how it was, and sort of satisfactory. We pulled off some things. You can say there's an improvement from going from 8th for 2 seasons to 5th, but it still feels like it was reliant on other teams playing poorly this season. who probably we could have expected more from, especially with sort of Ronaldo turning up at Manchester United and lifting them. But and he did lift them as well. And but third was there for the taking. Chelsea obviously had a difficult season off the pitch as well. No one could have predicted that unless you were really savvy politically and really could see what was going to develop there. It probably was off most people's radar. So they would, and Tottenham had a terrible time. And even when Conte came in, I mean, there was a point where they even looked like they might have got rid of him. And he expected, and he held his hands up and said, well, they can do whatever they want to do. I don't mind, I'm going to carry on if they want me to carry on or not. So they've struggled as well. And, but like George said, there is some sort of improvement, I suppose. And we are back in Europe, which is a good thing. And, I think the conference would have been more difficult. I don't think there would have been much enthusiasm for that. At least there's some enthusiasm for the Europa League. So and perhaps there is something to build on next season. I'm sure we'll get into it later about who's going to come in and how that will change things or not change things. But so in the end, it was okay. I didn't really like much of the play. There were moments when we did play well, as I said before earlier. There was Manchester City, the second game. I thought we played quite well, and that was for me the game of the season, even though we lost. And I remember at the time on PA there was sort of some questions being raised about whether that was a team who had so little possession in the game. How could it have been interesting to watch? But I felt that they played as best as they could, and they were committed. And in the end, we lost to the best team in the league. But whereas we'd seen the first game, and it was really appalling. As I said earlier, it was like a training game really, and everybody had given up after the first 25 minutes, and the sun's too hot, and let's just let in lots of goals. And so it's difficult. I think there was a lot of hysteria at the beginning of the season as well, losing the first three, and we're going to go down, that kind of thing. And the last time I remember something like that was when Terry Neal went, and a lot of us as young little lads, got a bit hysterical. And I remember going to a party, and there was a bit of an older lad there, and he just said, "Yeah, the Arsenal won't go down. Don't worry about that." So I've always got that at the back of my mind, that it's very unlikely Arsenal are going to go down, but people really would pull out the stops for that to happen. And they think I think the Brentford game, again, as I said before, I think it was something that probably the Premier League really, really wanted, and probably a lot of other football fans wanted. Arsenal coming in, they're there for the taking. Here's plucky underdog Brentford, first time ever in the Premier League ever or whatever, and they went to any lengths to do it, including holding on to Leno for the second goal. And people got what they wanted, and we lost, and then we got thrashed. And then I can't remember, did we play West Brom after that? And things picked up. We won 5.
No.
When did we play West Brom? Was that after the Chelsea game? I can't remember.
You're killing me with West Brom. West Brom,
we played in the League Cup, didn't we? Because we had to go in the early rounds.
We went down.
Yeah, and then we played 5. We won 5-0 or something, didn't we? We absolutely thrashed them. And everybody got excited again. But of course, it wasn't really, they weren't really put, at that moment, they weren't a particularly quality side, I would say. And, and then Chelsea, obviously. And then the rest of it seemed to be sort of like waves, didn't it? Where we'd pick up and then sort of drift away again. And you can see it, like 22 wins and then 13 losses. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's really extreme in a way for at least a club of our stature and what you would hope, which is ridiculous, really, because why should you expect anything? Why should you expect, because Wenger years were really great, or there were some moments in the George Graham years that were really great, or they had a good defence or whatever? Why would you expect it to be like it now? It should probably just be judged on what it is. And this is another thing that's really, really interesting, is that we never really talk about the scales, how our judgment scales, our personal judgment scales, and how it should be. And this is, again, something that we probably just nicked on a little bit earlier, but back with PR, that PR is always spinning everything, which is it's like a false consciousness to me, because really we're all able to see the game, try to see what's going on, and people say, well, Arsenal are crap or Arsenal are brilliant, and falling in the extremes, as George was talking about earlier. But, I'm really worried when a PR team comes in and starts picking you up. You're not going to pick me up. I'm going to see what's going on the pitch. You were able to see it. That's what we're looking at, But I am interested in the scales, how we judge things. This is something probably in the whole of society we never talk about. What scale? What are you basing the team on? What's the benchmark? What would you like to be? And probably Arteta's talked about it, but I'm interested in does he know what's his benchmark? Obviously, in the league, it's a very closed system, so and the benchmark is to be the best and to be number one. But what do we mean by the best? But we saw that there was 2 teams this year who were really excellent, and both those sides were excellent to me. And whether we like them or whatever, we don't like them, I thought they both played really entertaining and excellent football. And they took it, they both took it. I know there's all the jokes about Liverpool didn't score any goals at all in the finals, at least in playing time, and they won 2 and lost 1. But even so, they went all the way there, and it's a mountain to climb getting in the European Cup final, Champions League final. And if they are talking about doing that little group system for the semi-finals, I don't know if they put it into place or they're just talking about it. It's going to be even harder. That's really going to be just so difficult. But there they are. That's the benchmark, and we're nowhere near it. I don't think at the moment. It doesn't matter. We take 5th. We're far, far, far away from those teams. And and it's sad because I feel a bit jealous sometimes looking at sort of Manchester City or Liverpool, and I feel like that's how we used to be. And it's not particularly that long ago.
Well,
I suppose it is, but as you get older, I suppose the years don't seem so. Things don't seem that far away, particularly. But
But you're right. You're right, Millsy. We are really a far distance from Liverpool and City. There's a gulf between them is great. But George, we had a really up and down season. Losing 3, then winning the next 3, but we were really scraping by some really terrible clubs. I remember now what was it? I had a headline 49 free kicks or 40 free kicks to 1 goal. So I had that in a pod we did. But we had 40 crosses. I'm sorry, 40 crosses to 1. And then took a free kick by Odegaard to win the game, if I recall. And then we went up and down. And then in April, we had 3 losses, Brighton, Southampton, and Crystal Palace. That at the point when we were looking really up. And then that defeat after Spurs, George, that defeat to Newcastle, which really was really a gut, a punch in the gut. Why were we so up and down, George?
Well, I think a lot of it was to do with, towards the end, with the injuries. They affected us badly. And we lost Partey, Tomasaku, and Kieran Tierney.
Yes.
And those 3 players, although other clubs lose 3 players and they can cope, we had cut our squad down to such an extent where we couldn't cope with them. The replacements that came in weren't up to it. Now, that's a valid excuse, but it's got to be tempered with the fact that was an intentional trimming of the squad by Arteta. So he can have the excuse that the injuries didn't help him, but he can't have the excuse that it was that unlucky because he had sent some players away that would have been really valuable in that situation. So yes. I think that was why we were so up and down. It was the personnel. I think when we had everybody, the first 11 fully fit and playing together for a few weeks, we looked a lot better than we did towards the end of the season when the injuries kicked in.
Yes.
That's where we go. How you apportion credit or blame is up to you. We all have the same information. We all watch the same games. We all watch all of every game. We all listen to the same bullshit on Sky Sport. We all listen to the PR that comes out of the club, and we all make different things of it. We all come to our own conclusions, and we don't all come to the same conclusion. No 2 people come to the same conclusion, in fact. So everybody thinks that they're right and everybody else is wrong. And this is the where we've got to as a club. Nobody's agreeing. There's the difference between people who think Arteta's great and people who think he's absolutely awful is a chasm. The logic tells you it has to be somewhere in the middle, and nobody wants to tread that middle ground. Nobody's willing to look at the other side of the coin. And until we start doing that, we're going to be forever disappointed or kidding ourselves, one or the other.
Mills, Arteta was the center of a lot of the division and the fan base this year. How good a job did he do in your estimation?
Oh dear. I suppose somebody's always going to be the figure for the scapegoat, and we have a real culture of that at Arsenal as well, and I don't particularly like it very much, but there's nothing I can do about it. How good a job did he do? Well, again, we're back to what scale am I basing that on, you know? Is he up to the old Wenger of 2005? Nah, he's very poor compared to that. Plus, we were talking, this has come up a few times as we've tried to get the pod going, but what Ehab was saying about the 200 game watershed, I'm really fascinated to see whether this is going to kick in. That we took a rookie manager, they had this idea of a project, and it gives it sort of an experimental kind of nature in the PR, which I think is a bit worrying myself. I personally don't believe a club of our stature and our history, I'm not sure we should be doing projects and taking risks on rookie managers in that sense. But, I suppose these are the things that happened and they wanted to do that, and that's fair enough. I don't run the club. And but how did he do? I don't know, a little bit above average, perhaps. You
think that?
I don't think he's a good manager at this moment. Perhaps he will be when, like Ehab says, when he kicks in and he's got that experience, maybe how to pull it off. At this moment, I never feel like I can rely on Arsenal. I mean, I just don't know what I'm doing going into the games. And for some people, that's probably really exciting. They like that kind of roller coasting. But I liked it at least in some of the George Graham times and some of the Wenger times when you would go in. I remember, sort of in recent years coming in on PA to have a look around at what Stu or somebody had written on a Saturday morning, and it was that feeling of anticipation and excitement for the day. And I always believed, even if we were going to go to sort of clodhoppers like Stoke, I still believed there was a chance to win. Now I'm not so sure whether it's purely Arteta's fault. I don't know. I don't know how he's setting them up. I don't know. We saw Xhaka talking about this after the which one was it? The Newcastle game.
The Tottenham game.
It was one of those two, wasn't it?
It was a Newcastle game.
It was
Newcastle game. The one he said that we didn't.
That's right.
I'm sorry, my friend. The one he said we didn't play according to plan.
Yeah, that's right. So I don't know how he's setting him up and why they're rebelling against him. And and we've seen since he's come in the amount of players that have had conflict with him. And that's fair enough. I mean, as a manager, I don't think he's an appeaser, and I don't think he's that kind of nurturing manager.
Can I come in here?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I do have an answer to why they have conflict with him. His philosophy and his ideas are so defined to himself that there is no room for compromise. And that's fine if you take people with you. But as soon as they don't come with you a little bit, because you've no room at all for compromise, they're cast aside. And that's a problem. It's also a strength, because if you get it right and everybody does go with you, you've a chance. But when you can't take the best players at the club with you, when your only world-class players, Mesut Ozil and Aubameyang, won't come with you, that gives you the problem. If they had gone with him, it would have been fine, but they didn't. We had talent like Guendouzi gone. Why? Because he didn't go with Arteta. He didn't do what he was told. I mean, even to the extent where if you don't take a wage cut when he says so, you're out the door. This is uncompromising. Uncompromising can be good if it works. If it doesn't work, you're creating problems. And then you've got to solve those problems. You've got to solve those problems, and he hasn't solved the problems because the players he's brought in to replace those players haven't been as good as the ones that he had. So, strengths and weaknesses. His character, his determination to have everything done exactly as he wants, in his way, in his style, in his image, is good, but only if it works. And we're yet to see that it's worked or is working.
One of the problems with this team, with his style, George, and Millsy get a chance. But one of the problems is still that style, it doesn't create a lot of big chances. We are 17. This is recorded. These are people, this is not me and you and some guy off the street just flipping statistics. This is some data that has been, from reputable sources. And we spoke about his insistence on positional play, and all of us see on the sidelines, he has to dictate what is going on. And I suppose that my question to you is, where is this leading? Can he make it work? George?
Well, he can make it work if he has the players good enough to make it work. This is something I feel that his system is fine if you have players good enough. But you could say that about any system.
Yes.
Every player, every manager in the country, their system will work better with better players. That's not that shouldn't be a revelation to anybody. You give Pep Guardiola better players than he has now, and he will give you a better team. Mm-hmm. It's not Arsenal are not the exception, but we use that as an excuse. Oh, the players aren't good enough for his system. If they were better, we would play better. Of course we would. Of course we would. But we're not getting those players. We're not getting top-class players, top-class technical players that can play his system. And I think we're going to talk about this in the next section about where we're going next. Will his system work? Personally, I doubt it because it's not worked up to now. And the players are with him. The vast majority of players. It's easy to take young players with you. You give Martinelli, you give Saka, you give Odegaard playing time every week. They're on the team starting. They're going to back you. They're going to back you. Yeah?
Yes.
Of course they are. They're not going to say, oh, I don't like his system. I don't like the way we're taking. They haven't got the power to do that. They're pleased to be playing first team football for Arsenal. They would back anybody giving them that opportunity, right? It's when the seasoned pros, they're looking around going, what? You ask Mesut Ozil to play not like Mesut Ozil. You ask Aubameyang to play not like Aubameyang.
Or Lacazette as well. He got him playing in a completely different way.
Yeah, he was playing fucking like half the time. You can't take players like that with you as easily because they're not happy to be picked every week. They've already got the money. They've already got the reputation. They've got the kudos. They've got fame, fortune. They don't have to go along with it if they think it's wrong, and they won't. You get a talent like Guendouzi. He wouldn't have it. Why wouldn't he have it? Surely.
That was weird, wasn't it? Because that was over that Brighton game, wasn't it? He fell out with Arteta, wasn't it?
When he fell out with Arteta. Why? Because he wouldn't apologise. Why wouldn't he apologise? Because he didn't think he'd done anything particularly wrong.
Right. But he was standing up for his teammates, wasn't he? So,
But Arteta thought he'd done something wrong. So because Arteta thought he'd done something wrong, Guendouzi's gone. Out. We've lost 30, 40 million pounds on him.
We're selling him for 9 million, right?
We're selling him for 9 million, and it's 30 million worth of anybody's money.
Ainsley, he's gone as well, isn't it? I mean,
Well, he might be back.
He's on loan.
But the point is, you've got to take these players with you, and he hasn't. And the players he has taken with him are those that he's brought in. They're grateful to be coming in and being here and playing. And the young players who are grateful to be playing.
I think, George,
they will always back him. That category of player will always back your manager. Always. The problems arise when the seasoned pros start looking at each other going, are we having this guy? And a lot of them didn't have him. And a lot of them are out the club. Bellerin, Ozil, Aubameyang, gone. Why?
Bellerin is interesting because he's gone to Real Betis and really pull up trees.
Good player, by the way.
Yes, and but our fans just seem. But part of the problem too, George, is that our fans just fall, as Millsy, for the PR and the the club spin that this player is expendable, and then they go somewhere else and they shine. Mills, on that note, he spent a lot of money, £250 million, but the defending doesn't seem to have improved. We have had 13 losses. We've conceded 48 goals compared to 39 last year. We spent $53 million on Saliba. We brought in Lokongo. We brought in Tavares. I think Tomiyasu is good. He's a central defender who can play right or left back. I'm not gonna say he's not a good attacking player. I'm gonna just assert my opinion here. He's not a good attacking player like a Hector, but he was a good addition. But for all that money that's been spent, where do you put Arteta? I am all, before I even let you respond, I am all for Ehab's 200 game. But for all the money that's been spent, are you satisfied that we made enough improvements on the defensive side, especially?
No, not at all. But again, I don't really know what's going wrong. We said in the previous version, I don't really know what's happening with the defense. I don't know why it is. I don't know how they're being coached. I don't know why there's not a really strong partnership between, Gabriel and Ben White. I know Ben came in, but you would, the guy's a professional footballer, however young he is, you'd think he'd be able to adapt at least to a sort of some degree. And I don't know if I said this earlier, forgive me if I did, but there was a time when you could always rely on an Arsenal defence. And I don't know. Again, I don't have the skill to pinpoint what's going wrong. I don't know what it is. You can, is it management? Is it training? Do the players like each other? What's going on? Is it just a formula where they're not getting on well? I have no idea. It could be all of those things. It could be none of them. And it's just, that's the way it is, I suppose. But usually there is a cause and effect and not just something out of nowhere. But so I don't know if I can really help you on that one. I just feel that, I feel like the two in the middle are not as commanding as they could be. That's all. And of course, at the beginning, we still had Chambers in the season, and poor Holding came in, and he lost it, and that wasn't necessarily all his fault. I think he was probably coached in the Tottenham game to get on Son, and Son is a pro, and he knows what he was doing, and he knew how to wind him up, and we saw all the other antics and all the other stuff.
Yes,
and that's fair enough. That's what these guys do. It's not just, it's not sort of fair play or something. People are, well, it's not. They're getting up to all sorts all the time, aren't they? And, and the game doesn't flow in that sense. We only need to look at corners or something, and we see it's like sort of
like a rugby match. Mills.
Yeah, exactly. It is American football or something like that, It would be interesting if they could bring in a sort of a fining system, a post-game fining system, and it might stop it. But I don't think they're going to stop that problem in the game.
It's not going to, Mills, stop dreaming. The things that I see in the boxing profession, people, people demanding fair play. It's not gonna happen. George, it brings us to the point now. Going forward, where do we go? We spoke about the attack. We spoke about the defense. We didn't speak about the midfield. But obviously, Mr. Odegaard, helped us. He improved a bit. I was not his greatest. I didn't think he was worth the money we spent on him, but he was an important player in the system. But going forward, George, it seems as if we're going back. We're going to bring Mr. Saliba back. We have signed Eddie. We have re-signed El Neni, who looked like he was out of the club. Where are we going this season? Where are we going in this transfer window, in your opinion?
Right. Well, what's happened so far is we've signed Eddie and we've signed El Neni. That's not an improvement. That's status quo. We've not you cannot point to them and say that's an improvement. We've lost Lacazette. However good, bad, or indifferent you think Lacazette was, the fact that he's gone, we're weakened. So we're 100% reliant now on the quality of players that we bring in. If we bring in players that are better than we have, we improve. It's like, I'm going to go back a minute to the defence. People were asking, why have we not improved? Why have we conceded more goals, yet we spent £150 million on the defence? And the reason is the players we've brought in are not as good as the ones that we've let go. Ben White is not as good as Louise.
That's right.
As simple as that. Hector Bellerin was better than Thomas Ackle or Cedric, which was split between them. Maybe Thomas Ackle was all right on his own, but a lot of the time Cedric played. KT, injured most of the time. Tavares, no improvement. We've not got better by the quality of players that we've brought in. Now, for us to improve this season, our younger players, Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Eddie himself, they should improve naturally. Just with the aging process, they should get better. But we're entirely dependent now on the quality of players we bring in. If we bring in Jesus, for example, we improve. If we bring in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we get worse. But they'll both cost us 50, 60 million pounds. So it depends on what players we bring in, whether we improve or not. We would like to bring in players like Jesus, Sterling, Gundogan, Shevchenko. You bring those types of players in and we improve massively. But we're unlikely to get players of their quality. So the improvement won't be that much. It's just got to be better than we've got at the moment. And every year we say the same thing, how important this transfer window is. Every single season, this is a massive transfer window. Well, I'm telling you now, I cannot remember a bigger transfer window than this one right now for the future of the club. Because we've already trimmed the squad down, that just bringing the players in should be easier because we don't have to get players out. We've got enough funds to pay the wages because we've saved on wages, FC. So it's vital that we bring the right players in, pay the right money for them, and they hit the ground running. Huge, huge, huge window. And the next year is going to be completely, well, not completely, but let's say 90% dependent on who we bring in this transfer window. It's massive, absolutely massive.
Millsy, do you concur? Are you looking forward?
Yeah, no, George is right. I'm interested in, is there going to be potentially a problem that we just talked about before as well, which is that if Arteta's struggling with more talented players, let's say, who are on a stage higher than the ones that we've got at the moment, and you're bringing in superstars or smaller stars, whatever you want to categorize them, how are they going to get on with it? And we've seen so far, his track record with this doesn't seem that great. So is there going to be conflict? Whoever comes in, there will, it is going to affect even what small amount of balance we've got already. So I don't know. That's all I've got to say on that point. I'm just really fascinated with how is he going to work that out, seeing as he hasn't done it particularly well. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't at the arguments and I wasn't in the dressing room or wherever. But I think one thing he should be, to a degree, and I mean, a lot of people might not agree with this, but Xhaka for me this season, he was the kind of linchpin to everything. He's our captain. Martin Odegaard, what was he being made captain for? Now, maybe I've got an older, boring, old fart version of what a captain is and those things. And I realised that it's not, I was a captain once, and it's not always easy because if you get guys in the team who particularly perhaps aren't favourable to you, they want to listen to you. And that's a kind of a tough thing. But Xhaka is the captain, and he is the linchpin for me and the whole team. And if he goes, and why would I don't know what his contract system is, or maybe other teams would like him. But he stayed through thick and thin, and a lot of the time it's been thin. Not just not just the guff he gets on social media and all that kind of stuff, which is nutty and whatever, but mentally ill, and but also with the fans and in the stadium or wherever, and then the sort of the problems he had with refereeing as well.
Well, he got sent
off. Yeah, but sometimes he didn't need to be sent off in some of those things, and it looked like they were going for him, and there's such a pressure on him as well, And anyway, so.
Well, John and I have spoken about it, and I continue to see this on social media amongst the fans. Arteta selects Xhaka whenever he's fit. Xhaka went down just before Christmas, and they rushed him back, and our performances improved. But George, we continue to see on social media all kinds of permutations of a midfield without Xhaka. It's Partey and somebody else. George, I'm going to do a show on this. But George, what is going on? The coach that they support 100% relies on Granit Xhaka, but the transfer mavens are trying to replace Granit Xhaka with Yuri Tillemans and all kind of nameless midfielders. And I just don't get it, George. And my head is exploding.
Well, we'll see, because for me, it's a win-win, personally, because if Xhaka stays, no matter who we bring in, Tielemans or whatever, after a few weeks, Xhaka will be first choice. And that's that. So I'll win, because I'll be proven right. If he leaves, we'll get worse. And we'll see who've got worse. We'll see the midfield's deteriorated. And I can go, told you so, I'll win, I'll be proven right. So it's a win-win situation for me. Mikel Arteta should have the strength to come out and say, look, Xhaka's captain. I don't care what anybody fucking says. He talks this good game like he's the man in charge.
Yep.
Put yourself in charge. Xhaka's the captain. The players know he's the captain. Everybody watching the game knows he's the fucking captain.
Yep.
Make him the fucking captain. The problem he's got is, I think, Xhaka doesn't want the captaincy.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants it. And whether he would be better off forcing him to have it, I'm not sure. But he should be captain, and he should, fans should accept it, but they won't accept it. Today, I've seen it today. We've got to get rid of Xhaka. Fucking get rid of your best player. Good idea. That'll make us stronger. You absolute fucking wankers.
So we're looking forward beyond the transfer window. What are you guys' ideas? And let's start with you, Mills. What are you guys' idea of the 2022-23 season? The World Cup is coming on. You pointed that out to me. It's going to break up the season the most unusual way for an entire month in December.
That's right. This is going to be something like we've never seen before. Was it 21st of November? I think the World Cup starts, and
21st of November. You have more knowledge than I do.
I think the final is the 19th, and then we come back on the 26th. So what's Boxing Day in Britain, and the season starts on the 6th. And although I can't remember, I can't remember when we were coming back playing friendly games, the 23rd of July or something like that. So we got this short period of time, and then we're slowly back on it again. But it really is going to change everything. This is even going to go, I think, even beyond the COVID situation.
Wow!
Because it's just going to be, COVID in a sense. People sort of took it relatively in their stride, and the main problem was the fans not being there. And whereas this is going to be just something that no one's ever experienced, or at least I can't think of. You'd have to go back to something like the World War II or something like that, where things are completely on their head.
Mills, it's the same for everybody. It's the same for everybody. It's not going to affect us more or less than anybody else. Part that to one fucking side. It will be a strange season. Be a strange season for everybody. That shouldn't alter where we finish relative to other teams. It shouldn't have any effect on Arsenal in particular. Let's just.
Well, it would perhaps, George, affect a team like City, Liverpool, and Chelsea, because a lot of their players will be on the top teams in the World Cup.
All of them.
Yes.
Will be playing in the top teams in the World Cup. Yeah. But it's certainly not going to affect us adversely.
No.
I'm not worried about the longer term.
Yes, tell me about that.
I think this season, I've said, will depend on the transfers we bring in. I think future seasons will depend on Arsenal fans readjusting their expectations. Stop expecting us to compete with Manchester City. It's not going to happen until we accept that they're in a different league to us, and we're not going to compete with them. We'll be forever unhappy. That's just the way football is now. If anybody's going to come in and challenge, it'll be Newcastle. You think, how are you going to get players up to Newcastle? Nobody wants to live in Newcastle. Believe me, for the money that they're going to get paid, one way or another, because it won't all be above board, they'll be going to Newcastle. Chelsea will have to see how much they spend, but possibly they'll fade out of it. So our self-sustained model might keep us in the same position. Newcastle come in, Chelsea go out. But Chelsea's produced enough income now to actually compete with us because of the past success in the last 15 years. They can actually compete with us on level terms now, on income generated.
Yes.
So it's going to get even more congested at the top. We're going to have to adjust our expectations. Well, don't expect. I honestly, I don't think I've got that much longer to go now anyway. And I certainly don't see us winning the league again or challenging again for the league in my lifetime. And I've accepted that. And somebody who's 20 might have to accept it as well.
But Mills, your family been there and you've seen the ups and downs. They've told you the ups and downs. Yeah. We're in a very strange period here, As George says, we have Newcastle. Eddie Howe is a very good coach. You've seen it. What he's done is just bringing in two new players over the winter. The boy Grimaires is good. But it's the team just plays a much different. The confidence and the attacking is much better, proving that Eddie Howe is a good coach. But you agree with George? We need to, don't we need to readjust our aspirations a bit?
I think everything went wrong completely. Nothing wrong with Emery. He was the wrong person to come in. I think there wasn't a proper transition. Why everybody they must have been so jealous of us, and it seemed as if they wanted to just start again. You can't start again. There's no beginning and there's no end anyway. You can't find them. There isn't. Everything's cause and effect. It's all knocking on. And I think that we made a massive mistake in this. And I think there should have been somebody who was brought in who would have been able to use the players we already had and brought in other players. And that was the whole point of going to the new stadium and all the things that Arsene did after all those years. And he built on George Graham. George Graham built on, Don Howe and Terry Neal and on it goes all the way back. And I just feel like the transition was poor, and here we are stuck. And I don't think, unless they're going to get somebody else in, and I don't think it's out of the picture that Arteta might not go next season. If we really hit the kind of a poor patch and he loses George made a really good point on Sunday when he was talking about the players are going to improve. That's a natural thing that that's going to happen. And but what happens if he loses the dressing room and they just down tools? He's gone, and then they're going to have a problem of who they're going to get in, somebody else, and it would need to be somebody who at least is going to try and get us on another trajectory back into the Champions League, and that's going to take a new plan. And I'm not sure that the structure that we've got at the club is able to do that at the moment. Poor old Pepe, he was a very fine player before he came to us, had a ridiculous price tag on him, and I know that's a whole part of the game that's going on now that is out of hand, and what can I do about it? I'm just a small bloke in the middle of nowhere, so I've got no chance of anything to say in my opinion on that. So, but we made a poor transition, and I don't see, like George says, I don't see how we're stuck where we are now, and unless there's a massive change, and somebody who can really motivate players, nurture them. Partey, he's a good player. We came in, he's a good player. What's going on? Why is he skying it out of the stadium, hitting pigeons, etc.?
That's because he's technical. Sorry, Mills. He's technically not good enough. I look at some stats. His shots on target is horrible. I'm going to tell you that.
What if you could have a manager that could sit down and start training him again and getting him, Xhaka to take him under? I know Xhaka, basically carries him a lot of the time, but I'm just kind of fascinating. I think we need a different kind of approach, but. It's probably not going to happen.
Right.
I'm not sure that there's a coach in the world that we could bring in that would turn us into title contenders.
Not Klopp, not if Klopp came. No. I know he won't, but not Klopp.
No, because he wouldn't be given anything like the financial backing that he got at Liverpool. And let's be honest, you know, how did he make the massive improvement? He went and paid the world record fees for a goalkeeper and a centre back. You know, he didn't do it magically. He didn't find somebody playing in the reserves. You know, and he got that back in. All right, he got it. They'll tell you about the net spend and all the rest of it. But I don't look at net spend. I don't think net spend has anything to do with it. I think you look at how much the squad costs. The squad you have now, how much have you paid for that squad? That'll tell you in relative terms how good the squad is, right? Because you can corrupt net spend by selling Philippe Coutinho or Gareth Bale, and it looks like you're not spending much money. But if you just add up how much each player is worth at your club in that squad and how much you paid for them, that'll tell you how good the squad is. But I don't believe there's a manager in the world that will make us title contenders, because it's about money now. It's as simple as that. And no fan base does not want to accept it. They'll make it about history, tradition, and all these other fucking bollocks. That no player, you want to sign Haaland. Well, Arsenal are a bigger club traditionally than Manchester City. Why is he not coming to us? Why can we not even go and talk to him?
Yeah.
You know, it's because it's fuck all to do with what he did 50 years ago, 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago. It's to do with now, how much you can pay in wages and what's the chance of winning silverware. Well, we can't pay big wages and we can't win silverware. We certainly can't compete for the big trophies. We're not even fucking in most of the two of the big trophies. So, you know, we have to be realistic and understand the landscape has changed. Readjust our expectations and accept that. Can we get a better manager than Mikel Arteta? I'm sure we could. Would it make that much difference? I don't think it would. We are where we are.
I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to say, isn't it? But I just would like to see a guy who could come in and get a bit more unity in the team. And I don't think we have that kind of unity. And that you know, even if we are going to underachieve, and I agree with everything you're saying, George, but
I think we do have unity. I think we do have unity.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's so much disunity, to be honest.
At this moment in time, there's a lot of unity. And I've said it because the players that he's brought in are always going to be behind him. Young players that are getting game time are always going to be happy with the situation. They're never going to complain. And that's the bulk of the squad now. The bulk of the squad is hardwired to be on his side, either because they're his players, he's brought them in, they're glad to be here, or the young players who are desperate for game time and they're getting it, so they're going to back him. The problem will come when the likes of Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard are established.
Right.
Established players. And then they have a dip in form. The team has a dip in form. Then they're not going to want to blame themselves. They're not going to want to knuckle down and say, I'll just get on with it. They're going to want to blame somebody else. It's not me, Saka. It's not Saka that's playing badly. It's not me. It's who? Who are they going to point at? They're going to point at the manager, because they always point at the fucking manager, whether it be directly or indirectly, through PR or through their agents or somebody else. They always blame the manager. It's never them. Once they're established. If they're not established, they can go, oh, I'm learning. I'm going to do what I'm told. I'm going to knuckle down. It's not like that once you're established. Once you're an international, a full England international, first choice for England, or are you going to blame yourself? No, you're going to blame somebody else. So they're going to stop backing him 100% at that point. That's how it works.
Well, you know, for all the established players, by the way, and that is important, people, they are, the endorsements, the getting on the FIFA 21, you have to keep that profile, and you can't be too self-critical. That's not, your PR people are not going to have it. Millsy, let's just try to wrap up here. So what are your aspirations for next season? Quickly.
I suppose everybody wants top 4, don't they? But I suppose that's the only thing we can aim at.
But George is saying, take into account what George said. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Well, what do I think? What do I think we're going to do next season?
Yeah, what are your aspirations for next season? Given all that,
everything
we've said.
Well, I don't know. Again, top 4, we're going to try, despite whether Newcastle are coming in and Chelsea have still got the money and those things. I think that's got to be the aim. I mean, there's nothing else. Good run in the Europa League. I don't think we're going to win that. And trying to do something in the FA Cup, maybe. I think that would probably give the fans a bit of a boost as well. And really, but again, it's going to be who he plays, who comes in. That's it. I think that's the best we can do. So, considering what George was saying, I don't think, the players are not going to be more inspired than they are.
Certainly not winning the title then, Millsy.
No, we're nowhere near winning the title. We haven't got a chance.
Just want to get that.
Not unless there's something insane happens and we limp through at the end. No. You can't. We're not even close to it. When you see a team that how we played against with the debacle at sort of in Palace, Southampton, and
Brighton.
That's right, Brighton, and then, but also the sort of for me, I'm sorry to go off a tangent, but for me there was also something in the Leeds game. It was in the sunshine. Everybody was really excited. We scored 2 quick goals, and then their captain gets sent off, and then the next minute we don't seem to be able to break them down at all. Yeah. And that for me is fundamentally a problem. And then that didn't go by well psychologically going into the
Spurs game.
Into the Spurs game, and that was a cauldron. That was a hot cauldron of sweat that night, and we didn't have a chance. I mean, and we just couldn't hold it together. And we could have easily whipped for more than we were. But then not being able to pick up against Newcastle. This is what I mean about what I'm talking about unity. I don't think there's a collective sort of unity psychologically. We seem to be very frightened at times. And maybe there is that unity, the unity in losing. I don't know. But I just think what I mean by unity is also a sort of the teams like Manchester City and Liverpool. They have a kind of a collective understanding, and they play really well. And they know what everybody's doing, even if they lose occasionally, whatever. But they know what everybody's doing, and I don't think that we do. Whoever's fault that is, I don't know. We've talked about straitjackets, we've talked about playing by numbers. But then, so, if that's being imposed on them, I don't know why there is, why isn't there a minor rebellion? And if there is a rebellion, as Shaka was saying at Newcastle, it seems to have gone completely wrong. So, but anyway, sorry, I digress. And as far as aspirations, 4th, good run in the Europa League, because that's the best we can do. I don't think we should concentrate on the League Cup as much. And I'd like us to see us concentrating a bit more on the FA Cup for probably old time's sake, because I think it lifts a lot of people up a little bit more at least. I don't think the cup is what it is, and I don't think it means what it is, despite the PR spin on that these days.
George, you'll have the final word. What's your aspirations for next season?
I'll be happy with 5th or 6th if we play better football and it's worth watching. That's all I'm asking. That's all I expect. I don't expect us to challenge for the league. Don't expect us to get top 4 even. I think the resources will stop that. I think our progression will be slow. I want the team to play better, more fluent football, and you won't hear a complaint from me if we get 5th or 6th and play good football.
Well, guys, thank you very much. After several failed attempts to get this podcast together, but I think we eventually did take a very long look at the past season and looking forward a bit. We're gonna have some chances. We're gonna bring some other guys in and look at some different aspects of the game. But thank you, Windmills. You took that off your profile at this time around. George, thanks as usual.
Okay.
And I look forward to the next occasion. And I'm sure we won't have as many problems as we did this time around. Thank you very much, guys. Remember to like and subscribe. Remember to leave your comments. A few of you left your comments last time around. Or at least one person, George, you engaged with that person. It was very interesting and I loved it. I hope that more people will do that. Thank you very much again, guys. Bye.
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 Bye.